prin care să-și susțină punctele lor de vedere. Doamna Caude, vă rog.
Dânsa va continua cu a doua jumătate începută ieri în Parlament, deci acolo am prezentat prima jumătate și acum va continua. Madame Setalou.
Hello everyone, again. I believe, unfortunately for me, not for you, that it is the last time that we will be hearing me directly in Bucharest for this trip, maybe another trip. So, in case you have missed it all, you can always come back to Uccelei Vrajitori. So, yeah, please, next one. Let's next one because I did this one yesterday. Okay, let's go. No, yeah. So, why did I write a book? Because it is an unprecedented situation where a technique that was absolutely a total failure has become implemented in people. Not only that, but in healthy people. Not only that, but was actually forced into people. What do I mean by saying that to you? I mean that no mRNA had ever been approved worldwide for any disease when the so-called pandemic was declared in 2020. That is to say that the tool, the technology, had never released any product, even for someone who was sick, even for a patient, not to talk of healthy people. The tangled history of mRNA vaccines was a repeated failure, and let's be precise, none of the clinical trials using this tool in 2020 had ever reached beyond phase 2 of clinical trial. This is a vast failure in our field. I'm going to give you an example that I give in the book. They have tried to develop this technology for over 20 years. Failed, never went beyond phase 2. Meanwhile, they used RNA to develop another technology. It took them 10 years and they delivered, I don't know, over 10 products on the market. That is to say that if a product works, if a product can at least go through the stages of a clinical trial and not be arrested because it is dangerous, it would have gone on. The truth is the contrary. It was a failure. It is strange to impose a failure to the people. So I want to put it in another way. Okay, I just have been negative. Let's be positive. I am begging the ones who will listen to me and to my presentation to show me one publication demonstrating a benefit of this injection. That is to say that, of course, any benefit has to be compensated, contrasted with risk. And I'm telling you that I did not find one single publication demonstrating a benefit. So if you can find one, please contact me, or else help me stop it at once and sign the moratorium that was shown to you by Damian. Maybe you can give the address again, please. So what happened on January 16, 2021? First of all, they started doing the campaign of vaccination at Christmas time between 2020 and 2021. So January 16, 2021 was really the beginning in Israel. One of the first articles, January 16, 2020, said that 500 people had been infected after having received the third dose of vaccine. If this is not a failure, I don't know how you call it, but we already knew with this article and another one, they were published by the mainstream media in Israel, and with those two papers, you come up with the finding that 11% of the ones who received those injections within the first 2 weeks were positive, COVID positive. Okay, 11% is huge. It's much more than the percentage of the population who were in COVID positive at that time in Israel. So we already knew that we have an issue. Next one, next slide please. Then this is terrible because I explained yesterday that facts had stopped being facts. But now facts seems not even to matter anymore. What could I see early in 2021? I want to see in Israel, because they vaccinated so much, they started at the red arrow. The green peak is the green line is about the excess, the mortality due to COVID. Okay, so what we see from here, the COVID death during the pandemic, the so-called pandemic, it was a little peak. And almost double peak after they started the vaccination. Now, let's say it was probably just because it was Pfizer and maybe it was a problem with their vaccine. So let's take the United Kingdom, where they had only AstraZeneca. What you can see is that, again, the peak during the pandemic, the terrifying pandemic, was much lower than the peak after vaccination. The red arrow. And the same with Emirates, where they had a lot of vaccination again. So the first 3 countries that vaccinated a lot, the people, you had a much higher, greater peak after the vaccination as compared to before the vaccination. And on top of that, it was, it was a time that it was flat. It was a time that it was getting down. It was a time, so this one was a bit at a time that it was increasing, so I cannot say anything, but at least for those two, it was a time that the epidemic was clearly down and rather steady. Let's go into islands. I was very interested and intrigued to see that in the islands, why is an island more interesting? Because an island is isolated. If you want to go into the island, it's very protected. And also the island, they wanted to be zero COVID. So they were zero COVID. January 2021, in Seychelles, you have zero COVID death, zero. They start the vaccination, bingo, again, you have this increase in mortality due to COVID. Let's go in Fiji Island. You have zero COVID. March, August, November 2021, zero COVID, zero. They didn't have COVID. They start vaccinating, bingo, Fiji Island. Same happened in Mauritius, where I live. They had 9 cases in March that were not completely confirmed because they didn't give them water and food because they were scared by the patients. So, and once they started vaccinating, again, bingo. So I just showed you in 6 countries, different countries, with a different dynamic, that wherever you started vaccinating, the worst was about to come. COVID-19 death would increase tremendously. This is what people could face, because I'm using only data that were public. Our world-leading data is a tool that any scientist or anyone from the public or any journalist, any politicians can use and did use, because they used it a lot to show that people were vaccinated. July 2021, the situation is awful. We realized with a colleague of mine from Israel, Dr. Steve Ohana, that the mortality is actually going into the youth. And we were the very first one around the world to raise the flag, the red flag, saying that we were concerned about the young adult mortality in Israel, and that started in UK and in Hungary in this article. This is what we said in this article. Unfortunately, we tried to publish it scientifically before this. We tried to publish it in the science. We could not, and we could not even publish it on YouTube or whatever. So this kept remained secret, when I think that touching to young people is the worst. Why? Because the young people are the ones who do not die. They do not die, or they can die, but then they die from war, or they die from an accident. But we have never seen in the human population, in history, a disease that would terror young people, because the nature is well designed as to having the possibility to reproduce, and therefore to keep safe the young population. So this is why we were extremely concerned, and you know that this red flag, unfortunately, has been going on in our different countries. Another red flag that I raised was also, we said, okay, I raised the flag that there had been no cancerogenicity, no fertility, genotoxicity study in those, with those products. So we wrote to the EMA, which is the European Medicine Agency, we wrote a letter saying, hey, we have a problem with your product. You never assessed the cancerogenicity, which is do this give cancer, nor did you test whether it was toxic for the genome when you are using a genetic product. So we have a concern. We wrote to them. What was their answer? The answer was just like, it's going to be all right. We will inject only 2 of them. So they declared that they knew that the nanoparticles were toxic, the lipid nanoparticles were toxic, and that they were aware, but it was okay because we would only receive 2 doses of this pill. This is what the answer to us. And for the fertility of all that, and before? Yeah. No. After? No. Okay. And for the fertility, very early on, we knew again that they had menstrual disorders. But again, it was really hard to raise the red flag everywhere. What we knew from Israeli data is that at least 10% of the women, which is huge, 10% of the women were reporting menstrual disorders. Menstrual disorders is not only a disease, it is also the capacity of reproducing our species. It is about fertility, and it is a big concern. Thank you. So 2022, by 2022, I have to say that it was a disaster. Facts ceased being facts. Facts did not matter. Even reporting a youth mortality alert didn't matter. And not only that, but madness was around. So the madness of those who were this morning noting this paper from Nature Reviews, November 2022, where this woman who was in charge of the vaccine department in Pfizer at R&D reported that they flew in an aeroplane while they were still building it. So she admits to the world that they didn't know what they were doing, that they were just building something, just like crafting something, while normally it takes 10 years to develop a vaccine. And why does it take 10 years, 10 years being the shortest? Why does it take 10 years to develop a vaccine? because you try it on animals, because you try it on human, little groups, bigger groups. All that, of course, was not performed. Basic principle, is it good? Yeah. So 2020 the failure was clear to everyone, except for the industry. Why do I say that it was clear to everyone? Because when you look at the curve of receiving the vaccine, you can clearly see that in 2022, no one wants it anymore. That when it was when you have no more mandates, people don't want it. So the failure was clear to everyone, but not for the industry. So at Davos, what the CEO of Moderna said, he said, oh, we need to go much faster. We want to have the product 60 days later after so the identified variant, here the Omicron BA.5, and they say that they want the product 60 days later. And even that, they want it even faster. That's why I'm concerned that in Romania they do mRNA platform, because what they really do, they are after quick, fast, even faster. And once it's local, it doesn't have to travel, and it's immediate in the country. The other aspect that Bansal says is that he said at that time that they were trying to get into the clinic all the 15 vaccines against the 15 high priority viruses defined by OMS and CEPI to be able to get clinical data on those. So they are really after you in terms of speed, and they are after us in terms of the repertoire of giving you any sort of vaccine and injection against any disease. Please, next one. 2023, the race to more and faster and everywhere. He said, they are so happy. They said that they would cure cancer. That was in April 2023. They would cure everything, and basically we were in the golden age for new vaccines. This is the golden age that you saw, this increase of COVID death in all the countries. So one issue is that the industry considers this technology as a game, and they say they call it the plug and play game. So the plug and play game, they are really proud, because basically the mRNA technology is, and this is really your concern, is that it's not about nanoparticle, it's not about mRNA, it's about the fact that this technology enters your cell and hijacks your cells. And this is really much the concern, because you cross the membrane, and once you are in the place, you are hijacking the power of our power to provide the energy to produce whatever has been directed to be produced. And this is very much the concern, is that when they tell you about self-assembly, no. What they are always using is you as a fantastic machine to produce whatever they want you to produce. So this is the concern. No need for promoter, that is easy. Active in non-dividing cells. So for you, it doesn't mean anything maybe. But for us, we know that if you go in non-dividing cells, that means that you go in also the stem cells. Those are the progenitors in case something happens. They are very precious cells that you do not want to touch, or you'll be facing health issues. They are so proud because it's cost effective, and this is very important as well. Not only they are harming you with their plug and play game, but on top of that, they don't want to spend money. It's easy for them because it's lyophilized. That means that it's like powder, and it's very easy because no need for transport with cold and everything. And practically any cell type can be transfected with those mRNA technology. That is, there can be this mRNA technology can go into any sort of cells. They are doing a lot of things at the moment. So they even tried this self-amplifying RNA in Japan, which gave a bad result, but yet they didn't stop it. You are not surprised. Self-replicating RNA, double-stranded RNA, mRNA, whether alone or whether in particles, whether taking advantage of our system to do the package, whatever, they are developing more and more of this so-called plug-and-play game. Please, next. They are doing that in a number of diseases, and I showed the list to Damien because I was curious as to why would they choose that kind of diseases. What we see here, so the diseases on which they have developed, they are well advanced with their mensager RNA technology. Mensager in French means lie. Mensager en roumain, ça veut dire quoi? Mytinos. So the mytinos RNA technology. So the mytinos RNA technology, they target respiratory diseases like tuberculosis, influenza, flu, coronaviruses and stuff. They seem to, so respiratory diseases, it's easy obviously to make people being scared because we already went through this so-called pandemic. They are after sexually transmitted diseases such as HIV, genital herpes, hepatitis C, and they are after diseases that can be found in most of the people, like Clostridium difficile. You can basically find it in many people, and you don't even know that you have it, and you're just fine with it. So it's easy to create a panic on it. And leptospirosis and malaria and noroviruses are all these diseases with which you can scare people quite easily. Next one. So their current proposal is that you treat your cancer with the product which may have caused your cancer. This is the actual, because this is what we are facing at the moment. So they are so proud that they move forward, and now they are saying that they are going to throw some AI into this technology because they want personalized medicine to treat your cancer. But you will see later on that actually the cancer did boom since this technology was enforced. A game which is not about your health, because whether cancer or whether heart attack and stroke, we all know that we have had many strokes after this injection, yet they propose to have the mRNA to treat these strokes and these heart attacks that you may have acquired with the technology. So it's amazing how they're saying that kind of sentence. We expect that the vaccine's effect will be permanent with lifelong protection against heart disease. Let's listen to what they say. Did you see what I saw? Permanent with lifelong protection. How do you want it to be permanent? They fought like mad after me when I said that we were genetically modified using this technology. And now they are telling us that they want the effect to be permanent. Please, next one. So this is more of their tables, you know, the sponsor, the commercial, so the ones that are already commercially available. The phase 3, you have so many products. Phase 2, so many products. Phase 1 and 2, phase 1. And you have even more than Moderna and biotech. You have more new labs, smaller labs. So basically, I said that the doctors told you a number of things when they lied, and they should apologize, and they should make a statement clear saying we will not do that again. Why? Typically, they told you take 2 doses to be protected. But we knew from a Lancet study that it was a lie, and it was easy to see, because this is the vaccine effectiveness, and when you go beyond zero in anything that is efficient, that means you are inefficient. That means you are even worse. And in terms of vaccine, that means that you are harming the people because they have less possibility to defend oneself. Please, next one. Doctors told you that the mRNA will stay at the site of injection, didn't they? Yes, they told you. But unfortunately, with the literature, the scientific literature, we saw that you found it in the germinal centers that are producing our immune cells. We saw that they were in the brain, in the blood, in the circulation, in liver, spleen, stomach, all these organs. And terrible thing, we saw that it was in testes, in ovaries, and in the placenta a lot, as well as in the breast milk. So for a product that was supposed to stay in the arm, the fact that you detect the mRNA in the breast milk of a vaccinated mother is shows obviously that they have lied. Next one. Doctors told you mRNA will be quickly degraded, but there is no off button. So when they tell you, you should take this, a lot of people colleagues, they tell you, you should take these drugs and you will be fine. Yeah, but that means that they don't really understand what it is behind the mRNA technology. What is behind the mRNA technology is that your body is designed to produce the product that they wanted you to produce, as well as other products, because there is a leak in the thing. And therefore, you can either find the mRNA or the spike that are still present up to days, months, next one please, and years. And Dr. Arne Burkhardt in Oslo, where we both were presented at that time, it was his last public presentation, and I can tell you that he was extremely moved and extremely concerned, because he was showing us all these spike proteins. So if a body produces spike, it is because you have mRNA that has directed the production of a spike. And his concern was actually this slide, because he found a lot of spike in the testes. So he knew that spike being toxic, we were harming the testes of these young men. Next one, please. Spike persistence persists in the not only in the body of those injected, but as well as in the literature. And this is important because I've seen a lot of people saying, yeah, there is no mRNA, there is no spike, whatever. So they are just going against the science and against the fact that so many teams with very different interests have documented the spike protein in cells of either vaccinated people or in the system. So persistence up to 709 days post-vaccination. That is to say that we didn't go further. Maybe if we analyze more, we will find later on. But 700 days after being injected, you can still find the spike protein in this paper. Next one, in this study. Doctors told you mRNA cannot go in the nucleus of your cells. And I thought it myself, because we were a bit like, normally mRNA is not going to re-enter the nucleus. And in fact, we saw that spike was giving, the spike mRNA had some properties that enabled it to go back to the nucleus. And this is very bad, of course, because it will enhance the possibility of the mRNA back into your nucleus to get integrated. Next slide, please. Doctors told you that mRNA cannot integrate into your genome, but they were wrong again. And we know that we had some reverse transcription that we could find in cells, and you would just put some, so you would take some cells, human cell, you would put some vaccine onto the cells, and what you would find is that you will have a reverse transcription of the Pfizer product. Again, this was another study by Jainisch, showing that the SARS-CoV-2 RNA had the capacity of being integrated into the genome. And recently there were more. So there were also a finding that in a cancer case person, we could find the product partially integrated in the tumor of a patient. So basically what doctors did not tell you is all the adverse events that were totally expected, not unexpected, that expected. We knew because we had already a list of 1,291 diseases, 32 pages, 90 genetic disorders in this list, which is very, very surprising. How can you get a deletion of chromosomes as a disease consequently from an injection of a vaccine? Doctors did not tell you the risk for your mitochondria, and so this is again very important. It's not updated, you have many, many studies. What it is that mitochondria is about the little part of your cells that gives you the energy. And if you alter this mitochondria, you alter the source of energy that you have for everything. You alter your metabolism, and you alter the tic-tac, the clock of the time that you will be dying. So you alter really the center. It's like the pentagon of your cell are the mitochondria. Unfortunately, those products alter profoundly the mitochondria. Scientists should share with you that even mice display long-term perturbations. So this is also for those people who say, no, but that's it. We don't trust. Okay, so let's take mice, okay? They are really neutral. You put this SARS-CoV-2 spike protein into those mice, and what you see is long-term transcriptional perturbation of mitochondrial genes. And those poor little mice have cardiac issues, and so we have the evidence against that it's not a good idea to have us express this sequence. So from my hypothesis, so in November 2021, I spoke to colleagues of mine around the world, and I said, you know what, I think that we have a new disease from this injection, and I proposed to call it spikopathy. So that was a hypothesis. I proposed it to the World Council for Health, and then a couple of months after, November 2021, January 2023, they found, they published this article where they saw that circulating spike protein was detected in the heart, the harmed people from those vaccines. So my question is really, how can one desire to express a pathogenic antigen? Because these mRNA COVID vaccine were about expressing a pathogenic antigen, which I showed yesterday a lot. But basically what we see is that in the young people, they display persistent elevated circulating level or full-length spike, unbound by the antibodies. We thought that they were protected by the antibodies. But now we find in the blood of these poor young people that they have the spike protein circulating and not antibodies binding to them. So this is why I asked laboratories to do the testing of spike, to really develop the test, which is at the moment only in Germany, to my knowledge. And I would think that we should systematically monitor this spike in vaccinated individuals, because basically it seems as though there is the severity of the disease will pretty much be linked to the spike protein. Why do I want to do that? I don't want to do a diagnosis if I don't have a solution. If we now understand that actually spike is driving some part of the injury, and lipid nanoparticles are also driving inflammation, so there is no doubt that many parts of this injection are toxic. But the fact that if we can reach out and destroy or neutralize some of the spike, then the patient should be better. So I'm really looking after solutions rather than anything. Doctors should have told you that the existing risk is for your epigenetic. And this is again, it was an early paper of a colleague of mine, Hervé Perron, and it was clearly showing that basically whether the spike protein was waking up other old viruses. And from this paper, I could anticipate a number of adverse effects that they did. Now they are reported as officially through like rheumatoid arthritis and that kind of diseases, Alzheimer as well. So we had other tools as well to show the effect of vaccine, and not only to show the effect of this injection, but also to understand that it is quite specific. So what this paper means is that you have some kind of signature in the microRNA that we produce in people. So if we have signatures, then we are better as to understand those who will not fear anything or those who will fear. So this is why I think that we need to go into more diagnosis, but with different tools than we used to have, because 70% of the population got the jab. Doctors did not tell you that mRNA technology is a tool into GMH. GMH, you know GMO, genetically modified organism. GMH is about genetically modified human. The issue is really that you are turned into a human being that will produce an engineered toxic protein spike, and also you will expose yourself to integrate some plasmid DNA contaminants. Second, the vaccine uptake in the cells, the product uptake in the cells, is associated with genetic-related events. I showed you about the mitochondria, I showed you about the listed genetic diseases by Pfizer, I showed you the viral reactivation, I didn't show you the line 1 activation, or quickly, it is about the fact that it activates the reverse transcription capacity. Those modifications may be unfortunately transmitted to the offspring. Because of this distribution that we already know into the ovary, the testes, the Sertoli cells and the Leydig cells, which are really nurturing the spermatogenesis, the epigenetic changes that lead to potential trans and intergenerational inheritance. Next slide, please. So never ever before we have seen so many deaths. So many deaths in the UK with increasing death, and this is again, all those are papers, publications that are publicly available, and it seems as though no one cares. So they call it the post-COVID pandemic. They analyze the excess mortality, and they all realize that basically we didn't have a lot of excess death in 2020. a little in 2021, but worse in 2022 and even in 2023. So why is it that they go on? Next one. Never ever before so many deaths in Germany, in Japan. So, you know, whatever the publication, whatever the team, we all see the same thing. It's not a question of being conspirationist, because all these scientists are absolutely the conspirationists. They are trying even to find some excuses, and they don't even dare saying the word vaccine. Because never ever before so many cancers, and this is a study performed in South Korea with over 8 million people reported to have an increased overall cancer of 27% that is linked to mRNA. So not only there is this increase, but also there is an increase in the speed of the cancer, because we see a different behavior, much more aggressive, and therefore we need to again discuss in order to find solution. My idea is that even if we have harmed people, we need to find solutions to rescue those who are in bad health. Never ever before so many neurological disorders, Tatiana. This is actually the worst. I quickly said that from the databases that we had, the number one category of disorder that we had as adverse events of these products were the neurological chapter. Unfortunately, a lot of brain fog about you know, all this, because you know it's so complex and all these capillaries are so. It's such a fantastic balance that it is quite clear that a very meticulous system would be actually endangered by those vaccines and products. So after insults, so they first insulted me when I reported about the myocarditis and I raised the red flag. But once they insulted me, they then admitted. And once they admitted, we need to propose them a medical practice, because they just admit it and they go on. They go on with another mRNA. so I think that is really important, because those kind of papers, you see, they say that there is an analysis 2 years after the admission for myocarditis linked to the vaccine COVID, but that the patients would present an alteration of the left ventricle. So these kind of little details, we need to discuss them to see how we can help those patients. Never ever before a genetically modified human was launched, sorry. And this case report that I mentioned to you earlier on, with the genomic integration of spike mRNA into the cells of a patient, is obviously a very bad sign. So stop, and stop. We need to stop those techniques. The game is naturally over, and because they were not vaccines to start with, they were not made for the severe cases of COVID-19, they were not made to prevent transmission human to human, they were not made for a positive risk-benefit ratio. They were having serious regulatory issues, they were having serious health issues, and the regulatory issues being totally overwhelmed by the fact that it's the booster dose. After the third dose, it was full of DNA contaminants with SV40 SV40 sequences and sequences that you don't want to have the DNA to go into your cells. Whether called a bioweapon or a biotech tool, I don't care. I just say we need to stop it. And this is why I ask you to sign the moratorium that we have done. There are over 60 countries that signed this moratorium. So it is actually the biggest moratorium we ever launched since the beginning of this crisis. So we did a number of them, but this one was published in the Berliner Zeitung in Germany. Berliner Zeitung is mainstream media, so it is a good start. Innovation, I want to tell you, because you know innovation, they tell you, oh yeah, but you refuse innovation. You are like archaic. No, innovation is not a synonym of progress when it ruins the public confidence in medicine, science, and reasons. And if they are not with you at all, they don't understand what you say, they think that you are completely crazy, just keep with this argument. Just keep this argument. You say you want mandatory vaccination. Don't you think that you are altering the public confidence in medicine, science, and reason? And I think this is a very good argument that anyone can understand. And innovation is not a synonym of progress when it alters our human integrity and when it changes our genetic information. And worst of all, when the transmission is proven intergenerational and somewhat transgenerationally, because we have quite now some evidence with all the knowledge that we are gathering pieces as pieces of the puzzle. Next one, please. So if you have three last slide. If you want only one idea to share with your neighbor who is still very naive, you just tell him, ask your doctor if a drug with 1291 side effects listed on 32 pages, including blood clots, strokes, heart attacks, is right for you. I like this, it's simple. Second, another idea to share. Next slide. One idea to share with your politicians. They say that, it's gonna be fantastic, we're going to do more and more so. This is a cartoon of a single cell organism. It's the yeast, so it's not like us, many cells, it's only one cell. And it is the relation, the orange lines are the relation to all the proteins of this one single cell yeast. And so what Big Pharma and those politicians tell you is that you masterize the effect by, if you touch this black point. This is what they are doing basically. And so I'm just beg for humility and to understand that if it is so complex for one cell at one stage, just imagine in our body. Next one, this last idea. One idea for you not to forget. The ongoing threat, whether through mRNA technology or through the vaccine, has been quite a long threat. And it was actually stated by the World, the OMS, as you call it. In 1991, there was this OMS task force on vaccine for fertility regulation, and its objectives were clearly to have a birth control and a contraception. Now, later on, in January 1991, they listed something so important. They said, so 1991, we go back 18 years before. Over the past 18 years, the OMS Task Force on Vaccine for Fertility Regulation has been supporting basic and clinical research on the development of birth control vaccines directed against the gametes or the pre-implantation embryo. So to me, unfortunately, I have to say that the war is really to the conception of human, multi.
O să mulțumim în mod deosebit doamnei Alexandra Henrion-Caude, genetician intrat în cartea descoperirilor de genetică de multă vreme. A fost o onoare să o avem printre noi. Este un lucru de excepție întâmplat în România și așa ceva dorim să se mai întâmple.